on Friday afternoon, we watched Trump's acceptance speech, which was long and promising to bring the country together in the first 5 to 8 minutes, and then the next hour and 20 minutes talking about crazy Nancy and the DNC using the courts against me and all that kind of stuff. What was your takeaway from it?
Yeah, basically the same as yours. I think for the first maybe 10, 20 minutes, he tried to reflect a sort of more national approach. He
Yeah.
tried, I think he said that, divine intervention has saved his life. He's brushed with death for the attempted assassination. And, but he reverted to type within about, I think, 20 minutes or so. And as you say, the rest was a bit of a Trump standard stump speech, really.
Yeah.
After that, it was, he's the big victim, and so are his followers, and the global elite is manipulating and up to its usual machinations. And yeah, I mean, it was the standard Trump popular speech from after about the 20-minute mark onwards. It
Yeah.
was almost a schizophrenic speech. It was almost in two parts. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Mr. Trump can change. I think his
Yeah.
speechwriters may have been enormously hopeful that some of them might have been hopeful that they could have used the shocking attempted assassination attempt, the shocking assassination attempt to, make Trump more appealing to a wider constituency in the United States. But I think Mr. Trump just, he's made his way by being a populist and presenting himself as the authentic voice of the people, and the people, inverted commas, because he's after all a billionaire. He's not one of the ordinary people, but he plays this role, and he also, it's only Mr. Trump can save America. So, and Mr. Biden, who's now we know now that he's not going to be running, but he didn't know that during the speech. And I think that Trump it was quite a low energy performance, which may reflect the events that he'd been subjected to in the last 7 days or so prior to the speech. I thought it was quite low energy. It was very long. And people worry about Mr. Biden's declining cognitive powers, but I'm just wondering whether, you could also raise question marks about Mr. Trump's judgment. That's the longest acceptance speech, I think,
In the history of it. Yeah. Yep.
And the fact that people started leaving was perhaps a bit of a cue for him to wrap it up, but he just went on.
The first 20 minutes was probably the script writer's amount, and then the next hour and 10 was probably him rambling. And like all he had to do was to have that first 20 minutes, say, God bless America, and walk off stage, and he would have been ahead. I mean, like we were saying last week, as many people I think were saying, Robert, that, it's a strange, and I apologize if some people find this offensive, but a bit of a golden ticket he was given with that near miss, because in times of strife, the country rallies around you, whether it's John Key and the earthquake, or whether it's Jacinda and COVID, or whether it's George W. Bush and 9/11. The only popular vote that the American right has won in the past 30 years is 2004, after the country rallied round a wartime president. And to use an American adage, he fumbled at the 1 yard line. He had this opportunity to basically solidify himself as the front runner, and to solidify himself as the unifier in chief, and he actually couldn't do it. It's not possible for him to do.
No, but I think also part of his appeal to his considerably, quite substantial base, is his anger. A lot of people who support Trump are angry. They feel life has not been kind to them. And in many cases, that's why, if you break down his support, it's coming from people, many of whom, some of whom have got 2 or 3 jobs and are struggling to make ends meet. And in a sense, that anger that he expresses, sometimes quite eloquently, I think strikes a note with some people. And I think the thing about Trump is that if he became a unifier, I think, I'm not sure he thought this through, but I think instinctively he may feel uncomfortable about that role. I mean, when he became president, that was one of the greatest opportunities. I remember reflecting on his inaugural speech in 2017 and thinking, oh, having won the election, he's now going to become a great unifier and be a magnanimous president. But he did. He spoke about carnage and God knows what during his inaugural speech. So I agree with you, Pat. I think he just can't help himself. And
Yeah,
I
he
think
can't do it.
partly it is a way of keeping his base solid.
Yeah,
From
but
Mr. Trump's point of view, it's probably too much of a political risk to try to widen his constituency. From his point of view, it may actually compromise his base, which thrives on his sense of injustice, victimhood, anger. He articulates what some people are feeling. Some people are, for a variety of reasons, feeling they've not been given a fair shake. And Mr. Trump basically says, look, let me fix that for you. That's the subliminal message.
But maybe that just shows how inexperienced and bad he is at politics, because the people you're talking about, his supporters who are angry, he doesn't need to do anything to get them. That speech at the conference would have given him a chance to get some of those people floating in the middle who could rally round a quote unquote wartime president who's just had an assassination attempt. In fact, watching 2 or 3 different networks who are speaking to undecided voters, how on earth you can be an undecided voter in America, I don't know, but speaking to undecided voters after his speech, many of them were still a bit like, nah, I haven't made my mind up yet. So he lost and missed that opportunity. And then with today's news, you know, that he may not have that same opportunity to be, you know, the individual, and people are going to hate how I describe him, but shining light on a hill. You know, the one that's taking all the oxygen might have ended on Friday.